Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Guitar Talk. We like to talk about guitars here. We love the old ones, old vintage equipment, amplifiers, new guitars, you name it. And we cover a lot of types of music, a lot of types of instruments. So we hope you come away from the show having learned a little something. And if you've got a valuable guitar or something of, kind of unique and rare, and you'd like to talk about it with us on the show, reach out to me at the credits at the end. You'll see the email, and we can get you on. Today, we're going to talk about country music, country picking, and some of the gear that today's guest artist likes to use to get his sound. He has won the Mass Country Music Award Guitar of the Year player so many times, they were going to name it after him. And he's played with John Lincoln Wright and the Sour Mash Boys. He was in the Patsy Cline tribute in town for a long time at the theater there. And he's freelanced and played with just about everybody you can imagine in the country scene. So I'm very, very happy today to welcome our guest, Chuck Parrish.
Thank you, Mike. How
Chuck,
are you?
welcome aboard. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've been picking around New England a long time.
I have. I came up in the early 70s. I think I came up here, and I was in college, and I came out with a college band. We were playing in Provincetown. We got a job in Provincetown out of western Pennsylvania, and us hillbilly boys were saying, boy, this is great, man. Let's go. We don't even know where it is, but
yeah.
we know there's an ocean up there, so we drove up, and we opened for Jake Giles Band. It was a place called the Electric Toe, and right on Main Street there in Provincetown. So it was something he said, yeah, let's do it. Boy, but I tell you, it was rough. There was not a lot of money involved, so we were, stealing peanut butter out of grocery stores and stuff. And I think it lasted 1 week, but I loved it up here.
That's paying your dues.
That was it. We just did 1 week. We were booked for 1 week, and then we went home again. But I remembered it, and I loved it. I loved
and that's
the area.
just before Jay Giles Band really broke big.
Yeah, it was so funny because it was such a wacky place. They had they would do the psychedelic stuff on the stage. They had a big screen. And I remember going out front on a break, and there was this guy out there. I hadn't seen. This was the first night when we were open for the band, and he was standing there, and he had this green shark skin suit on. I said, "Man, this guy is decked out." You know? And that was Jay Giles, and and he was he was looking. He had that alligator kind of suit on. I said, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, they were the business back in those days.
Yeah. But it was funny. It was that was my first job up here, and that's really what got me up here. And then I came up. I found out about Berklee. I said, I was in a town called Grove City, Pennsylvania, a little Presbyterian school there. So I did 2 years of liberal arts. I said, this Berklee place sounds like the place I want to be,
Wow.
And my wife's her family was up here. They were living in Hingham.
Oh.
So we had an opportunity to come up, and so I came up and went there. I did a 2-year program back there in the early 70s, from 71, I think, to 73.
Okay.
And it was great. It was great, man. It was one of the best things I ever did for music,
And they had a real vibrant scene back then in Boston, too. There was places to play everywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. And I got in a band right away. It was a country band, little trio. A friend of mine named Luke Weatherfield.
Mike
Roberts knows him really well, and you know him as well, yeah. So we had a little trio. It was called the New Country Project. But man, it was great. Man, we were playing all the joints, So I was in school, and I was playing all these places. Man, I said, this is in a big city, it's the old Stevie Wonder. Big city and everything. Oh man, it was just knocked out.
You living the dream at that point.
Oh man, it was great. I was playing music in a big city, and I was going to school, and I just loved it. So I've been here ever since. And
now, did you find back then there were a lot of the upper level country artists? Were they coming through New England at the time? Were they playing around?
Not that I I didn't remember hardly anybody.
It seemed like that exploded a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think that did. Once I think, what I think changed everything, and you actually started to bring acts up to New England, and some of the those places where country music is not strong was was the Urban Cowboy thing. That's
Oh,
really when it
yeah,
changed.
that really did
yeah,
break
that
it.
really did it, man.
Yeah.
You know, people started putting the bulls in, you know, they ride the bull in the bars and
Country
everything.
themed bars started
Yeah.
springing up. Now, when did the Massachusetts Country Music Association appear?
I think that was like mid-70s.
Was it in the
75,
mid-70s?
Yeah, mid to
Yeah,
late 70s.
because they've done a tremendous amount of work on behalf of country music in the New England area.
They have, yeah, they sure
And I
have.
know that they still host a jamboree here in Taunton at the VFW on occasion.
Yeah.
And for those of you who live here in town, we have a wonderful group of folks that host country music over there on a regular basis, as well as other places. So you should get out and support that. There's some great players out there. I know at the time I used to play in the place is long gone now, but there was a place in East Taunton called the Mayfair.
I don't know that room, but
Graham Ferris and the Wheels.
no, I know of Grimm, yeah. Grimm
They were
Ferris.
the band that was there all the time. And that was the
Yeah.
first, probably one of the first local country bands I saw. And that would have been in the early to mid 70s.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. That's about right. That's when there was lots of work for.
There was. You could play all over and never leave your hometown if
That's
you wanted
right,
to.
that's
you know,
right,
A lot of venues. So, have you always been a Telecaster guy?
Yeah, pretty much. Telly's all the way up until actually just recently, I switched over to a Strat.
Uh-oh, he's in the other
homemade
camp.
Strat. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it just fits the. I'm playing with an Irish rock band.
Yep.
But they do trad stuff as well, and
Fits the
it
music.
just seems to fit a little better. It's a little thicker sound, you know.
Yep.
I use the treble pickup a lot, and you know.
Sure.
You know how it's a Strat. Treble pickup can be a little harder sounding than
Yes.
that. You know, I mean, people say the Telly bridge pickup will rip the top of your head off.
Yeah.
But the Strat pickup, I think it's just a little easier on that. You know,
The top end,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I roll it way off, and it takes. I use a lot of overdrive
Yeah.
with this band, so it takes
Oh.
that better. I think it can handle that a little better. you
Right,
know.
right.
I
Now,
like it. I
back
like
in
it.
the old days, did you ever have the opportunity to own any old or vintage Telecasters?
I had my second guitar. My first guitar was a Gretsch Anniversary.
Oh,
guitar
those
that
are great.
my father got for me. He played a little guitar, but my second guitar was I think it was like a '62 Telly, you know, and
Nice.
but I needed the money
Back
and
then,
I
it
sold
was
the
just a
guitar.
used
It was just a
guitar, too.
guitar.
I mean, you could buy them used all day long for $200 to $400.
A slab of wood, you know, and you can drop it down the stairs, man. A Telecaster.
Now they
you know,
cost
those Fenders,
thousands.
now they're thousands and thousands of dollars.
It's crazy how that exploded like that. But
A funny thing, but that band that played at the Electric Toe in Provincetown. For that gig, I had a '52 Gold Top Les Paul that I got for $150, man.
Yeah.
$150. I mean, I needed the money. I sold that thing for $800.
that had the long trapeze tailpiece on it,
yes,
the 52.
yes.
That's the first year.
Was that the first year?
That's the first year, I believe, 52. And then they worked their way to the stop tailpiece and then to the
yeah.
system we all see now that holds the tuning a lot better.
Well, I had that guitar probably for 5-6 years.
Wow.
But I didn't play it that much. I was playing the Telly, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what's upset me about that guitar, and if I'd have known any better, I wouldn't have done it, was that moving tailpiece.
It couldn't get in tune.
I don't know if you know you remember Mike Padula?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I took it over to him, and I said, "You got to put a stud piece on a tailpiece on this thing." You know, started drilling holes in it, you know. But
Yeah.
it was a great guitar, and like I said, I sold it for $850.
Wow.
If I'd have known any
Now you
better,
could get
I needed the
12,
money.
15 grand for it all
please
day
don't.
long.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I paid off.
Yeah,
the
the
house.
good ones, you know, you don't know back then what
Yeah, and
you've got in your hands.
I've never been a collector or anything like that. I mean, I know if I get a nice guitar, I just want it to play, I want to feel good and sound good. So, you know, I wish I'd have known, but who knows? I mean, you can't, if you
You know, and in
regret
those
that,
days,
you know.
we were lucky to own more than one guitar at a time.
Exactly. Well,
I
that's
mean,
right.
I never had, it was very rare I owned more than one guitar. You learned how to change strings real fast.
That's right. That's right.
And, you know, if I had a good year, and I owned 2 guitars, I felt like I achieved the pinnacle of success.
Yeah.
You know, now I've got a spare guitar on the stage.
And
I had
yeah.
one of everything. I had one amp, one guitar, and
Yes, sir. That's
we
right.
made it work.
Yeah, we did that, but we're sure making up for that now, aren't we?
I'll say.
My closet is filled with amps, and I got pedals everywhere and guitars all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
And my wife is saying, "Man, can you put? They're in closets, you know. I have a music room stacked. I got stacked with amps, and I don't use them. I don't even use them. You know, I use them. That's what I'm using. That's my amp. And I've used that for the last 3-4 years.
You know, I've always found the Telecaster, and I've talked about this with other guests, it's the perfect plank of wood.
And that's it, man. You can use that as a
simple,
canoe paddle.
and you can pull off any gig you get on with it. And I'm finding the young guys on a lot of the rock gigs now are playing Teles, when it was always, when I was growing up, that was the guitar country guys played.
Well, you got to have one, yeah.
The guy that really spun my head in a circle, that made me realize, ooh, this does a lot more than just Don Rich licks, was Roy Buchanan.
Yes, sir.
And when I heard him doing all those volume swells, he was playing jazz runs, I was like, geez, this is phenomenal. And no pedals, he plugged it right into a Vibrolux reverb. And
I played, you know Tom Hambridge? He's a drummer.
I do not know.
Well, he's in Nashville, but he knew Roy. So Tom was a guy, he was connected, and he got all these jobs backing up, those kind of people that came through town. There was a job at Jonathan Swift's.
I remember that place.
Yeah, Johnny Swift down in the basement there, with Fire Trap, big time Fire Trap,
150 people smoking cigarettes at the same time.
Yeah, cigarettes and booze flying everywhere, Well, he got a job backing up Roy Buchanan, because Roy didn't travel with the band, he'd go around and just bring his guitar and he'd throw a band together. Well, he put a band together, and I was lucky enough to be the rhythm guitar player in the band.
Wow.
Tom was on the drums. Yeah, man, it was a thrill, because he was.
You did a gig with Roy. That's fantastic.
in the club. Yeah, in Johnny Swift's. But I have a picture of it backstage. He was one of my heroes too.
Yeah.
And you're right. He was one of the first guys you heard playing a Telecaster. Other than Don Rich, love all those guys. Those are all great.
But Roy played the entire guitar.
Yes,
there was no button or knob that didn't get twisted and turned in his hands.
Man.
And that's what really made me go, wow, look at this guy, what he's doing with the tone knob and dropping the tuning keys and bending the neck. I'm like, this is mind-blowing
I'll tell you what, though, that was, he was playing, the night we played, he was playing a twin reverb.
Ooh.
And if it had gone to 12, he had turned it up to 12.
That must have been
and there were people sitting right there in the front, and you could see their heads, their ears were bleeding, man, and he was ripping it.
Tearing it up.
Yeah, and he was a fool. That's how he got that great sound, Turn that sucker all the way up,
Absolutely.
And he didn't care if it was a twin or a Vibrolux or a Deluxe, he's going to turn it up to 10.
And I'm sure at a lot of those venues, they provided the amp, so if they got him a twin that night.
That's what they had.
That's what was available.
If they'd only known, if the sound man that Roy turned those babies up, they'd have got him a little Deluxe or something.
So now, did you start with country music early on in your career? Was that what you were drawn to with the guitar?
My first, no, I was playing we'd play at the youth center in Grove City, Pennsylvania. And we were playing, Blues Magoos and Beatles and the Stones and all that
great
stuff.
Great 60s classics.
Oh man, all the 60s stuff, yeah. And I was playing my Gretsch through a little Montgomery Ward amplifier, 212 amplifier.
Yeah,
we had a ball. I said, man, this music thing's all right, This is all right for me. Man, it was great.
Yeah.
People applauding and dancing to your music. And
did you have a teacher early on, or did you teach yourself?
I taught when I came. Did I teach?
Did you have anyone teach you?
My Uncle George taught me. He was an old style. He played, songs from the 40s and stuff on guitar, and he would strictly instrumental music. So he would take a song and play it, figure out how to play it on the guitar. And he was a teacher. He taught other. Yeah, I would do that. I think when I was 12, I started taking lessons with George. But boy, he was tough. He was a tough. I tell my dad on the ride home, I said, "Man, that's just rough, Dad. He's real tough on me."
Yeah.
And I'm not crazy about that music, anyways.
Right.
Can't we learn some Beatles songs or something?
I know.
But it was great because he showed me how to read some stuff, read some music, and
that come in.
But he was my first teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine when you got to Berkeley, having some reading skills in place.
Yeah, but you know, I went to about the age of 13. Then I just realized, just stopped, and I stopped taking any kind of lessons,
Right.
and I knew a few songs, and I knew enough that I could play with the local band, you know, and play the
Yeah.
tunes, you know, and licks off of records, you know, listen to the Beatles and stuff. That was pretty much how I learned, and I didn't do anything really play anything till I was maybe 20 when I started going to school, going
Yeah.
to Berkeley. But that was an amazing thing.
Being
the
surrounded by
language-
unbelievable guitar players
That's
everywhere you
right.
look.
And they teach you the language of music, you know. So I mean, great, you can play, you know, but if you want to communicate in an ensemble setting, if you know the language of music, you can do that with other guys. Just, you know, a look, or you throw a finger up, you know, okay,
You know
that's
what
a
it
one
means,
chord. You
yeah.
know, it's an amazing thing, and everything made sense then. You know, after the Berkeley experience and hanging out with all these great players, and it was.
It opens up a lot for you intellectually when you can understand when another musician says this is a 1-6-2-5.
You got it.
You know, you have to have those basic skills, even if you don't become an advanced reader or a, you know, super duper jazz improvisationalist.
Right.
You should have the basic diatonic harmony information down
Exactly.
pat, because you can walk onto a job with people you've never met
Right.
and get through the job.
Yeah, that's,
You know,
it's huge.
You'll
It's
know what
huge.
they're talking about.
Yeah, the
when they-
language of music.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
It's so
And it's
critical.
not- and it's-
in an age of YouTube
Yeah.
and Tab and everything else, kids want to learn it quickly, and they don't want to. I tell them, you got to put the work in. You got to learn the language of music.
You know, it's just basic math.
It's all it is.
It's basic math. It really is. I mean, there are 12 notes in the Western music. It's got 12 notes.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm chasing every one of them.
and I've been trying to find them. Yeah. And when I need one of those notes one night, I can't find it. But you know, that's all there is.
I
There's
know it.
12 notes, and there's a simple math. It's you know, in a scale, there's 7 of them, and one repeats at the end. That's the scale. That's it, man. In a major scale.
Absolutely.
If you learn the basic stuff like that, you know, just the basic theory, man, you can. That's the biggest advance I made, was learning that basic theory and knowing, you know.
It is a big forward move. Now, I see you using a Dr. Z amplifier now.
Yeah. I love that.
Those are really receiving tremendous reviews from everybody. They're really a simple design. They make a great sound.
Yeah.
You just turn the volume up, turn the tone, and bingo, you're there.
Yeah. It's got 2 knobs on it, which I love. That's idiot proof for me, you know. And I start putting presence and middle and try. And I just, you know, I want to just turn it on, and that is sort of like it's like a modified presence knob. Did you have one on your
I had
Maz?
it. Yes, I did.
So what was it?
The Maz had a cut knob on it.
It's a cut, yeah.
And it, you know, worked a lot of magic in those higher frequencies.
It's amazing, yeah.
And it was a very fine amp. But I find that goes back to like the old Tweed Fenders, the real early ones that had volume and tone.
That's right.
You couldn't get a bad sound out of one of those
you
amps. You'd
cannot,
turn it up
man.
and it was just beautiful, glorious sound.
Always sounded good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons I got it. Plus, I was telling you earlier, I had made myself a couple different cabinets.
Yes.
And I like the idea of a low wattage. I always like low watt amps, so you can crank them up in the clubs, you know, and get that nice. So when you start
Get a good sound.
the tubes start to spit a little blood, you know, and you get the that saturation, and it won't blow the top of your head off, you know.
That's right.
Great amps, low watt. Yeah, I love them.
Well, let's pick one.
Let's do it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. job.
Woo, that's some good picking.
Good stuff, man.
Well, that was some great picking.
Likewise.
I really love that style of mixing the pick and the middle finger, that hybrid style. I think it's
Yes.
critical to country playing to get the snap
Yeah,
and to get
yeah.
that other note in there. How long did it take you to develop that?
I pretty much started doing that probably in the 80s. I started doing that, the hybrid style. I saw some of the Nashville guys were doing it, and who was the big? Albert Lee was a big guy.
yeah.
Albert was
Lightning.
the big. He did a lot of that. So that's the guy where you could actually see him on television playing with Emmylou, you know, and saying, "Oh, look what he's doing there." You know, he's
what
got
he's
this
got.
thing going on there. But I'm sure there were a lot of other folks, a lot of the Nashville session guys were probably doing that, but they weren't on television. You know,
Right.
they were in the studio. So, but Albert was the guy that.
You got to see doing it.
Oh man, and he really did it too.
When
Yeah.
he came out with that song of his, Country Boy,
Yes, that's
that
a big.
fast banjo run that he was doing on there, I think everybody ran as fast as they could to their guitars
Yep.
to try to learn that lick, you know.
That's a tough one to get.
That's
too.
a fast roll.
That intro,
Yeah.
that intro is tough. Yeah,
Crazy.
I'm still working on that intro,
Yeah.
trying to figure that thing out. You know, but that was.
But that's a great technique. That, and I always liked the way Jerry Reed did his claw.
Reed, yeah.
You know, that Jerry's Breakdown intro is out of this world. That's
Yeah,
another one that's
he was
right
a
off
thumb
the
picker,
hook.
though, right?
Yeah, he used the thumb.
Like
That's
you
what
play,
got
right?
me into. I watched him doing the thumb. Of course, the guy that got me really interested in the fingerstyle stuff was Chet.
Of course, Chet, yeah.
But you know, he was just an alien from another planet. It's like I'll
He
never
was.
be able to do that. But if I can get just some tiny morsels of information and what
Sure.
he's doing and develop it,
Yeah, he was great. You know, he had that great tone, and
yeah,
Jerry, I think, was probably a little more, little outside, a little more
was.
outside than Chet. But they
He
were
was.
they were related, I guess, right? He was by marriage, I guess.
Yes.
He married Chet's daughter or something like that. So
that
and-
claw lick that Jerry had on Amos Moses was the one that introduced me to that style of playing.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over the sound he got.
yeah, oh, great, yeah.
On that, but the hybrid thing, and I saw Danny Gatton do it too,
Oh,
who was
Danny did it
another
too as well,
monstrously
yeah.
good player.
Yeah.
And Mike Roberts, our friend Mike, does
Mikey,
it well.
he's
So
a monster.
now, are
yeah.
you doing a downstroke and a pullback? Is there a certain
Yeah, it's always a downstroke.
downstroke
yeah.
with the pick and a pullback?
Yep.
And you're making that nail get contact with the string.
Yeah,
to
right,
get the
right,
pop.
right. It's because you're using the pick, you don't get that. You have a different, more of an angle like that. You know, your hand. Whereas if you're using the thumb pick like you do, you can
Right.
get this right. So I
Yeah.
think that's more natural. That's easier for picking.
It is,
for
but you
finger
can't
picking.
I can't get as much speed as you can probably get with the hybrid style.
And I've tried the thumb pick thing, and that is the reason I don't use it. I mean, I'll use it on some things. You know, if I'm doing something, playing a session or something, I'll
Yeah.
use it. But you're right. If you got to rip off something real fast, I can't. My
Not with the
hands
thumb
can't do
pick,
it. You
yeah.
know, I can't do it.
Let's pick another one for the folks.
Let's do it.
1, 2, 3.